The stories that make a difference.
Your reporting certainly helped inform the way we're seeing the issue.
Holding the powerful accountable.
I don't think many of my colleagues, I don't think they know this. Thank God for the reporting that you all have been doing on this.
I think any options need to be on the table, and if that's something we need to put in place to make sure that the homeowners are getting what they're promised that they're supposed to get.
Asking the tough questions.
Should kids be allowed to purchase kits online and put together their own guns?
Right. Clearly no. I believe clearly no.
And inspiring change.
The lack of oversight is what I'm most surprised about.
Our investigative teams from across Florida covering thousands of miles to share the stories that matter. This is our Florida Investigates 2025 special. Thank you for joining us. I'm Caitlin Lockerbie. We begin with an investigation that started in 2024 and has prompted a federal audit of a state program funded with your tax dollars. Investigative reporter Jennifer Titus has been working to unravel what went wrong with Rebuild Florida. Jen, over the last 2 years, you've uncovered dozens of cases of questionable funding.
Yeah, so we've shared story after story of families across Florida who have been waiting to get home after Hurricane Irma destroyed their homes in 2017. We uncovered how a state-run program made promises that they could not keep. We found contractors overcharging, year-long delays, and questionable spending. The stories we shared led to a federal audit. In an exclusive interview, a top federal watchdog tells our team the audit into the state's Rebuild Florida program is expected to wrap up in early 2026. Heather Crawford shows you the process to track how your taxpayer dollars were used to work on hundreds of homes across the state.
Nearly 8 years after Hurricane Irma, some Floridians are still waiting for Promise Help to rebuild. Now, a federal audit is underway into how the state is spending nearly $500 million in recovery funds.
The reporting certainly helped inform the way we're seeing the issue. You know, the work you all have done in highlighting the concerns from the individuals in the community has definitely been helpful context for us.
The Rebuild Florida Irma program, overseen by Florida Commerce, is funded through a $480 million federal grant to help vulnerable Floridians repair or replace their homes damaged by Hurricane Irma in 2017. But a joint investigation by First Coast News and 10 Tampa Bay uncovered skyrocketing costs, long delays, and substandard repairs.
The goal of this audit is to assess the progress that the Florida Department of Commerce has made in their program. So we're focused primarily on the outcomes, and then we're also going to take a look at the quality of the homes that have been built and assessing whether they meet quality standards both at HUD's requirement level and at the local county code level.
Florida Commerce says it encourages the audit of the program and is grateful for the HUD Inspector General's partnership. Quote, "We are confident that this investigation will support our assertion from summer 2024 that our former vendor, IEM, performed poorly and obstructed completion." IEM was awarded a $252 million contract by the state to administer the program. When we sat down with the head of Florida Commerce in May 2024, that's who the state put much of the blame on.
Clearly, our main contractor, IEM, clearly some of our contractors, clearly they were okay with abdicating their responsibility.
IEM sent us a lengthy statement to set the record straight and says Florida Commerce's assertions that the company performed poorly and obstructed completion are false and misleading. The company also sent us a video statement from CEO Brian Kuhn saying IEM's contract was performance-based and there was no incentive to delay, and every home completed was signed off on by local inspectors and Florida Commerce.
Throughout our contract, IEM advocated for homeowners. We raised concerns about poor general contractor performance, requested reassignments, and pushed for accountability and efficiency in well-documented conversations. Time and again, IEM's requests and recommendations were not acted upon or were denied.
We've asked multiple times for Florida Commerce to once again sit down with us since it's been more than a year. They declined. And since we started investigating, previously public contracts have been removed from the state's website. The people who are still waiting for their houses to be rebuilt or repaired feel like they are forgotten. They feel like there is zero oversight. No one is being held accountable. As far as Florida Commerce goes specifically, who is to hold them accountable?
We've talked with HUD extensively about the Department of Commerce, and they understand why we're there, and we're communicating about everything we're seeing as we're going. So ultimately, HUD will be the one to hold them accountable. We're a part of that process, but that's the true, that's where the buck stops.
Deputy Inspector General Stephen Beggs says the federal audit will look at dozens of rebuilt homes.
This is a large program within HUD's disaster portfolio. There's a lot of funding, over $500 million available, and there's information indicating that the Department of Commerce may be behind schedule in certain areas. Based on our risk assessment, we decided this was a good time for us to come in and take a look at. Right now, while money's still on the table,
the audit is expected to be complete by January 2026.
As soon as it is public, that starts a process where there's accountability on both HUD and the Department of Commerce to address our recommendations. And if they don't address them adequately, then we'll continue pressing for additional actions.
Now, if you have information about fraud or waste involving HUD funding, the HUD Inspector General's office wants to hear from you. You can call the hotline at 1-800-347-3735, or you can report it online at hudoig.gov. And you can read IEM's full statement in our story online.
His 15-year-old daughter died in a school shooting. Now he's on a mission to keep ghost guns away from other kids.
Kids can go online and do this. People with criminal backgrounds can do this.
Untraceable and accessible. We'll show you how easy it is to buy gun kits online next. Two teen brothers arrested with guns, drugs, and cash. One 17, the other 15 are facing multiple charges. And one of the 4 guns Hillsborough County deputies found was a ghost gun, an AR pistol made with parts ordered online. The latest federal data shows in 2023, more than 2,000 kids under 17 were found with ghost guns. Our investigative team spent months looking into how kids are getting their hands on gun parts, putting them together, and then using them in crimes. Tonight, Jennifer Titus shows you how ghost guns are untraceable and accessible.
Yet another school shooting. This time, it happened in California.
15-year-old Gracie Muehlberger was one of the students killed on that November day. A day her dad, Brian, remembers in vivid detail.
At some point, a doctor comes in, a surgeon, and he sits across from me as close as I am to you, maybe closer. These rooms are really small. And he gives you that blank stare. And then he just tells me, we worked on your daughter for an hour and a half and we did everything we could and she didn't make it. The only way I can describe what happened at that point in my body was I wept and I wailed and I cried. I just fell to the ground. It was just like a visceral pain coming out of my body.
But this investigation isn't about another school shooting.
It'll be 6 years this year.
It's about what Brian learned after his daughter's death.
So, within a very short period of time after the shooting, we heard that the firearm used was what's called a ghost gun, kind of a slang term for a kit gun that you can buy and build. And never heard the term before.
A gun kit the shooter could have easily ordered himself at just 16 years old.
It's truly kits that are made and sold online or in stores or at gun shows that are highly accessible.
Our investigation has uncovered kids have purchased gun kits online. How many? Well, the latest data from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, otherwise known as ATF, shows from 2022 to 2023, more than 2,300 juveniles under the age of 17 were found with a ghost gun. Digging through court documents and lawsuits, we found ghost guns have been involved in the deaths of kids from Minnesota to Georgia to Florida. It happened in Fort Myers and also Vero Beach, where teens were handling a ghost gun in a boy's bedroom.
And apparently he had put together over a period of a year. His mother knew about that. She wasn't aware that he had ammunition. He clearly had ammunition and gotten that at some time.
And he's how old?
He was 14 to 15 years.
Police Chief David Curry says the young teen purchased the parts himself and put together the gun that ultimately took his life.
A 14-year-old can't go into a gun store and purchase a gun.
Not at all.
but they can go online and purchase the parts to make one themselves.
Correct.
And that's completely legal.
That's legal, and it should not be.
Brian also knows how easy it is to purchase because he did the same thing after his daughter Gracie's death in her name.
This is 4 months after she had been killed, and put her name on the order form, and then went back and finished the checkout process. So I officially lied by clicking that checkbox, but that's how easy it is.
It's why he filed this lawsuit against the ATF to regulate gun kits, specifically the 80% receiver and frames that allows you to make a gun at home. There has been a back and forth by both the Biden and Trump administrations on how these types of guns should be regulated. But the Supreme Court ruled earlier this year that certain unfinished frames, receivers, and weapons parts kits are considered firearms and are subject to federal regulations, including requiring serial numbers, background checks, and record keeping for dealers. These photos from the ATF show the difference in what is regulated under the Gun Control Act. This is still not considered a firearm because it's missing holes and dimples for attaching key parts, including the trigger, while this other photo of a receiver has a partially machined fire control cavity, and the ATF says this does meet the definition of a firearm.
Here's an AR-15 rifle kit.
We shopped site after site, putting in kit after kit, and not once did any of the sites tell us there would be a background check, and only asked us to verify our age by clicking a box. It's all we had to do before putting in our credit card information and hitting purchase.
Should kids be allowed to purchase kits online and put together their own guns?
Right. Clearly, no. I believe clearly no. And like I said, there's a lot of hobbies out there for adults and young people. But with regard to adults as a hobby, like you said, that may be one thing. Building guns, putting puzzles together, what have you. But for a juvenile to build a gun and to be able to order the parts online, to me is totally unjust.
Do you think it's a loophole that's just been overlooked?
Absolutely, absolutely.
In a perfect world, we'd find a way together to do it. And, I would love to ask every one of these folks how they would feel if they lost their child. So it's easy to be on the one side until you're on the other side.
And some states do ban ghost guns, but Florida, Caitlin, is not one of them.
Yeah, it's not just kids getting their hands on these gun kits. Felons are too. We're going to show you how, and you can watch our entire special, Untraceable and Accessible, streaming now on our free app. Before the package gets to your house, your favorite items have to make it to the warehouse.
It only had a couple of inspections, but 100% of the time, it was so unsafe they couldn't continue.
We spent months looking into who's behind the wheel, hauling freight for the nation's largest retailers. What we uncovered next. They promise delivery within days, sometimes even hours, but our investigative team is taking a closer look at who's driving your Amazon goods to the warehouse, uncovering questionable drivers, dangerous trucks, and a lack of oversight. And now there's a push from loved ones who say change is needed before more lives are lost. Here's investigative reporter Jennifer Titus with part 1 of Dangerous Deliveries.
Alex Robinson never imagined the only memories he'd have left of his mom, Christine, would be those in this box.
Me and my mom.
Photos of a life that was always just the two of them.
My father died in 1991. I was 4 years old. After that, it was just me and her.
Christine raised Alex in this home, planted 2 small trees in the front yard.
Every time I'm in the yard, that's where I kind of feel her presence the most. We did all these things on the road, and we did these road trips all the time. We had talked about going to Italy together.
Today, those trees have grown at the home where we met Alex for this interview.
I'm guessing nobody ever thinks that you'd have to be doing these ventures now without her.
Absolutely not.
On August 28, 2021, Christine Robinson was a passenger in a Toyota Tundra truck that was stopped in traffic on I-75. According to the police report, a semi-truck failed to stop, rear-ending the truck. Robinson was rushed to the hospital.
I found out she was in the ICU.
Enough time for Alex to be by his mom's side one last time.
That was the last time I saw her was the hospital bed. And yeah, that was the worst day of my life.
After wrapping his mind around the fact his mother was now gone,
I'll never forget it.
he worked to understand how and why the crash happened.
This thing doesn't happen to people like her.
The driver of the crash cited for careless driving.
They're doing a very dangerous job.
Driving for a company, he says, with a questionable history.
They literally had no safety history other than some inspections that they failed more than they passed.
Taking a closer look at the trucking company, CRD Transportation Service was first granted its license in 2007. Records show that 3 months later, their license was revoked. Then in 2008, the company was reinstated again, only to have their license revoked. Same thing in 2012, and then in 2020, they were reinstated.
And then about 8 months or so before this crash, they reopened.
This time, he says, to do one thing: deliver goods for Amazon.
And then they drive in to stop traffic and kill 2 people and injured a bunch.
It's why he says he filed this lawsuit against the trucking company and Amazon. He says they are responsible for who they hire. So how do you get hired to haul loads across the country for the retailer? A trucking company has to apply to partner with Amazon under the Relay program. Once that company is approved, everything goes through the Relay app, accepting loads, assigning drivers, and getting the goods from warehouse to warehouse. According to Amazon's website, to be part of the program, they say Amazon Relay uses basic scores to vet reliable companies to haul our freight. The company says our standards are 5% lower than federal thresholds, which means our demands for safety are stricter. The lawsuit contradicts that, saying Amazon does not conduct any safety investigation into motor carriers or truck drivers beyond verifying current operating authority, proof of insurance, and that the motor carrier does not have a safety rating of unsatisfactory.
The limited safety history they had was a bad safety history.
Alex says the thought of how his mom was in the truck, the first thing the semi-truck hit, is just too painful. He thinks the owner of the freight inside the truck should have been doing more to protect her and everyone else in that pileup.
Shouldn't they want to be the safest, the best?
And regarding Robinson's crash, Amazon tells us in part, we extend our deepest condolences to these families and know that nothing we say will take away the hurt they continue to feel. We require any carrier who does business with us to follow our strict policies and procedures that go beyond the industry standards, and the carrier involved in this case is permanently barred from working with us. We also know this is not the only trucking company with a questionable history delivering Amazon freight.
The problem is that there are hundreds of thousands of trucking companies on the road. There are thousands of new ones every year entering and thousands exiting. So the DOT does not have the resources to do in-depth investigations of all of these carriers on the road.
What we've learned about the companies behind the wheel and the surge in the number of new trucking companies streaming and our special dangerous deliveries. Watch for free on our app.
It starts out just like a tiny, like a stone chip. That's what it looks like. But then it bubbles up and then it starts coming off like in sheets.
Drivers are fed up with paint problems. How to get help with peeling paint? Still ahead. Our team has done nearly 70 investigations throughout 2025. There simply isn't enough time to share every one, but we do want to show you a few that have gotten viewers' attention online. October marked 1 year since Kensworth Moody's death. The Marine veteran's wife and daughter sat down with Heather Crawford after investigators learned someone posing as a nurse was giving Moody in-home care.
We felt like he didn't do anything. He could have called 911. He could have woke me up.
For you to walk into a house and pretend that you're a nurse to take care of somebody who's sick, what do you expect to happen?
The alleged nurse imposter and his fiance are both in jail awaiting trial. The owners of the Bright Star franchise have never been charged. We're continuing to follow this case as it makes its way through the court system.
Imagine being 30 years old and the IRS sends you a letter that you owe $70,000.
It's pretty alarming that
obviously there is a significant flaw within the government that's causing these overpayments.
Taylor Spike battled cancer twice at Moffitt Cancer Center, so for several years he was receiving disability benefits. The problem is when people go back to work, there are limits on how much you can receive or you're no longer eligible. That's how these overpayments can happen.
If something is coming from the Social Security Administration, they trust that there has been an analysis that they are entitled to those monies. That's why they pay into Social Security over time.
We put Taylor in touch with some lawmakers that are hoping to find a solution. This story was one that many drivers could relate to, a paint problem with a variety of different cars.
Yeah, not just small chips, but sheets of paint coming off the car.
My daughter's hood basically just flaked completely off. Probably maybe 10% of the paint was left on it. And then my wife's car started, and that was probably 30 to 40% that was coming off. And we traded both those cars in.
A consumer attorney we talked to says even if your warranty claim was denied, don't give up. You can ask the manufacturer for a warranty extension.
And we've posted resources on how you can work to get this fixed in our story on our free app.
Yeah, you can find more of our in-depth investigations. Just download and stream news and weather when you need it on your TV. Thanks for watching.